We've got RIP Takeoff. We've got Liftoff here, and condolences to his family. Today on the Self Luv Show, junk science. Junk science. How junk science shapes criminal injustice in the United States. Come in there with their lab coats, the experts. We're going to unpack something that this poop we've been smelling for some decades here. Who protects us from them? Show starts in about 5 minutes. You guys, please like, share, subscribe, repost. We got Karen back in the building. Welcome back, Karen. We had Jim on last week. Karen, you can take it away when you're ready. Please like, share, subscribe, you guys. Junk science. Criminal injustice. In the United States.
Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use.
Studies have shown that when rats learn a new skill in one location, rats in distant, unconnected places somehow acquire the same skill without any physical interaction. Morphogenetic fields act as the conduit, carrying this information non-locally. Even more profound, these fields may be the key to understanding past life memories. If memories and experiences can be stored in an energetic field, then they could transcend lifetimes, accessible to a soul that taps into its own unique morphogenetic resonance. This challenges our traditional understanding of memory and opens up a world of possibilities about the nature of consciousness and existence.
Air quotes say get the likes up.
We are, as they say, tangled in our anchor chain. Our financial systems are decades old. According to some estimates, we cannot track $2.3 trillion in transactions. According to some estimates, we cannot track $2.3 trillion in transactions. According to some estimates, we cannot track $2.3 trillion in transactions.
The charges I'm going to announce, please know this. The charges themselves are not evidence. Everyone that I'm going to describe today is presumed guilty until and unless they are proven guilt. Their guilt is proven by the government beyond a reasonable doubt.
Yeah, I mean, anything's possible. Thank God we recovered his DNA and be able to plant it on the scene. Thank God we recovered his DNA and be able to plant it on the scene And I understand they're opening up different cold cases now to see if they can identify possibly his DNA linked to other crimes.
No, they're ignorant. That's ignorant. They're ignorant. That's ignorant.
Karen, bring the blunts.
They're ignorant. That's ignorant.
That Ain't That Network. Everybody subscribe to That Ain't That Network, man. I'm telling you, those guys are putting some real conscious material out on their YouTube. A lot of people aren't aware of their content, but these are some very smart people that's very conscience forward.
Hey bros, what's going on? This is Cotton. Be sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, because subscribing makes you feel good.
Here. God damn, guys.
I said, call this shit no block. It's 10 o'clock. Where the fuck y'all niggas at? Hey, this what y'all wanted me in Chicago?
Show starts shortly.
No block right here. That shit, call this shit no block. It's 10 o'clock. Where the fuck y'all niggas at? Niggas ain't outside. It's only 10 p.m. Where the fuck y'all niggas at, block?
O Block right now. Where we at? Tell you something, man. This Nino Brown, man. I'm live on O Block right now. Where we at? This O Block. I'm from Miami. I just want to tell niggas, man, we gotta stop
Nobody
killing each
asked
other,
you.
man. Yeah, this shit ain't about nothing. All that killing shit, we gotta work together, man. Stop killing each other, my nigga.
Stop the killing in Miami, you idiot.
And tell niggas that shit.
Go to Liberty City and tell them that. Wrong with you?
I'm right here. See where I'm at. I'm out here. Black Star Line cigars. For grown men. On some grown man stuff. And to the PDs, stop doing that killing. Please, stop doing that killing.
You heard? Free the guys. Free the guys. All right, where the blunts at, Karen? Free the blunts. Free the beers. Free the gummies. Free the guys.
And even in this instance, if I could be a service to a 9-year-old girl or a 19-year-old woman or girl who wants to be a woman, is to really remember that self-love is the best way that you can receive love from anybody else.
Out there.
A lot of times we forget that. We look externally for this love. We look externally for this feeling of validation and adoration and approval. And it has to come from within.
Karen, pull up the 13th Amendment. 13th Amendment. Pull it up. Prison slavery.
In entering upon this course of instruction, each of you should, so far as possible, lay aside for the time being all previous theories and beliefs. By so doing, you will be saved the trouble of trying
all the way through the show
to put, quote, new wine into old wineskins, end quote. Luke chapter 5, verse 37. If there's anything as we proceed which you don't understand or agree with, just let it lie passively in your mind until you have enjoyed the entire show. For many statements that would at first arouse antagonism and discussion will be cleared and easily accepted a little farther on. After the show is over, if you wish to return to your old beliefs and ways of living, you are at perfect liberty to do so. But for the time being, be willing to become as a little child, for said the Master in spiritual things, quote, except you become as little children. Ye shall in no wise enter into the kingdom of heaven, end quote. Matthew chapter 18, verse 3. If at times there seems to be repetition, please remember, the Self Love Show is a lesson, not a lecture.
Stand by. Please repost the link, like, share, subscribe. Show starts 1 minute.
Nothing.
Absolutely. Got Karen back in the building. Look how smoothly everything's running. Karen, get off the phone. Karen, music, please. Karen's back, but she's back on the phone talking to the 12. Welcome y'all to another edition. Karen, music, please. There it is.
The Self Love Show, giving you more than vitamins and minerals. Food for your soul, information and plans integral to making your mind grow. With more growth and development, BS is irrelevant to the intelligent. Knowledge, wisdom, and understanding is what we represent. It's the Self Love Show, the Self Love Show, the Self Love Show. We do it for our people. Self Love Show, it's the Self Love Show, it's the Self Love Show. To expose and no equal. The Self Love Show, the Self Love Show, the Self Love Show. Tory Wordsmith 9 mil. The Self Love Show, the Self Love Show. You know how the story goes. It's the Self Love Show.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The views expressed in today's pod are those of the hosts, guests, and are not necessarily reflective of TATN or any affiliates. Welcome to another live edition of the Self Love Show on This Ain't That Network, or as we say, TATN. This is the pod where we dive extremely deep. Yeah, we go there. We go there, and you got to be there. We're going to dive extremely deep into the intersections of your mind, your body, your spirit, and your culture. This is one of the co-hosts, 9 Millie. First off, all praise to the ancestors. I have reason to believe the children are the ancestors. Yeah. The Most High, and of course, my late and truly beloved Mama Sky. In modern criminal justice. Thank you, Karen. The shadow of junk science looms large, a murky intersection where poorly validated forensic methodologies and pseudo-scientific claims tip the scales of justice, or we should say injustice. Today, we're going to look into how these unreliable practices not only misinform courtroom decisions, but also contribute to a system where wrongful convictions become an all too common reality. By exposing the ways in which flawed science infiltrates legal proceedings, we're laying the groundwork out there for a much needed discussion on the integrity of evidence and the public trust it demands. Throughout today's podcast, we will examine a variety of cases that illuminate the devastating consequences of misapplied scientific principles, from disputed forensic techniques to questionable expert testimonies. The misuse of so-called junk science has repeatedly led to outcomes that undermine the very foundation of our illegal legal system. Our exploration will not only highlight the human costs, ranging from lost freedom to wrongful imprisonment out there, but we'll also consider the broader implications on societal perceptions of justice and accountability. As we unravel these intricate threads, we invite you to challenge your assumptions about what constitutes credible scientific evidence, because you one day might not dodge your jury. Stop dodging the jury out there. You may get selected. Credible scientific evidence in our halls of injustice. We will explore systematic issues such as underfunded forensic labs, the absence of rigorous testing protocols, and the conflicts of interest that perpetuate these dangerous practices. Together, we aim to spark a vital conversation about reform, transparency, and the relentless pursuit of a more equitable legal system that truly upholds the promise of justice for all, not just the whites and the pinks, but for all. So, whip out your self-love vision. Yeah. And grab your 10 hats. This is the Self Love Show, and this is the revolution, and the revolution will not be on YouTube. These are lessons, not lectures. We're live in living color. Today is Tuesday, April 8th, 2025 at about 7:19 in the Shy. And as always, we cats can be anywhere in this magnanimous, ever-growing universe. But thankfully, we all chose to be here together. Here. Together. Went down, Chi-Town. Brother Wordsmith, what you manifesting today, God's child of the light?
Love, now. You know me. I'm manifesting love. What you manifesting?
Ditto, good brother. Pure, unfiltered, unmolested. No fence, bum rub, rubbing my fence on the bum. Some say tough, others say harsh. I can assure you it's the love of accountability just the same, good brother.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You know what I mean? What's been going on in your neck of America since we last popped out?
Well, Friday was my mom's 85th born day. And Saturday we had a celebration at a little buffet spot.
Yeah, Quartz sent me some pictures, man. Yeah, Quartz was there too, huh? Yep. Yeah, man. Mama Wordsmith, happy solar cycle, all the blessings coming to you. And thank you so much for all the love you showed me. You know what I mean? In your in your life. Thank you so much for all the love. It meant so much and could have quite potentially saved my life out there. So love you and many, many more. My bad, bro. Didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, no. You didn't cut me off, actually. I was done. So it's a great celebration. She had a wonderful time. Thank you for all who had participated. It was great.
That's what's up. That's what's up. So all the copper colored out there, y'all got out there, and y'all had some fatback and some chitlins out there, and that deep fried catfish and a lemon pepper.
Nope, I didn't. I didn't have none of that.
Well, you got the wings over there.
I forgot to invite Big Mark, man. That I don't know what. I had a brain fart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, that's crazy. Yeah. It happens. It happens. You know what I mean? Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I tell people, yeah, I'm vegetarian. When you don't eat the chicken wings? Yeah, no, well, the chicken tree is something that you're not supposed to eat from. You know what I mean? And they look at me like I'm, stuck up, like I think I'm better than them. You know what I mean? Like, all right, let's get out of there. This is a spiritual moment. All right. What to expect on today's The Self Love Show? We always kick it off with the Self Love Show quote of the day. And then, of course, we have our more GD platform video. That's MOORGD, more growth and development video. It's our platform. And then we've got tattoo tyranny. Okay. And more growth and development. That's yin and yang, people. That's your yin and your yang out there. All right. And then we got tattoo tyranny out there. Okay. And then a dome teaser. Your mind is awful when you waste it. So we're going to give you a riddle. It's already pinned in the chat. See if you can matriculate. If you can't matriculate, Brother Wordsmith normally matriculates it and gives you guys the answer at the end of the show. If not, I'll give you the key at the very end. So if you don't think and you can't figure it out, then you're going to have to enjoy this entire show or click off and click back to the very end and you can find out the answer. All right. And then today's topic, as I said, is how junk science shapes criminal injustice in the United States. That's what we're unpacking here on the Self Love Show. And then we wrap it up with my personal favorite part of the whole shebang, and that's where Brother Wordsmith's going to tie everything up into a metaphysical piece of poetry, pulling it from the ether and delivering it to us. It's always a gift, and we gracious for it, good brother.
It's given and given. So thank you so much for spirit that gives it.
100%. 100%. All right, y'all. Announcements out there. If you need some towing out there in the Chicago area, look up Gym Recovery out there. Gym Recovery, big ups. And then Bella B Designs 365. If you need some personal swag out there, at Gmail, hit that up and order and rotate and matriculate your your copper colored dollars out there. Also, Midwest festivals out there. They present, they're presenting
Ancestor Echo.
Echo.
Yep. And it's you better hit it now on the early bird special. 25% off. You better get them.
Yeah. Hey, is there any way to carve out, like they say, all right, I'm in and I need to carve out this particular space on the map. You guys do anything like that? This particular zone, I'm reserving it for me. You pay for it and then you carve it out.
Yeah, we won't have that specific, but I think something can be worked out.
Yeah, communication. Yeah. Yeah, it'd be nice. Work towards that. I'm pulling it out of the ether. You know what I mean? It's like when you go to a concert, you click on it, click. All right, everybody, it's all coming. It's all coming. But we need now is for everybody to show up, enjoy yourself. Get back in touch with the ancestors. Listen to some beyond outstanding music.
Yes,
blew my mind.
It's a great experience. Telling you the truth.
I came in there wanting to hear all the old school, original, foundational stuff, which was played, and it was great. But they know what they're doing out there. It's a whole lot of new stuff too that you're like, ooh, nice, yeah,
man.
Let me get my bum off the fence, go out there and shake it.
That sounds kind of like
yeah. But
this is man,
yeah, 100%. And all types of wacky events, you know what I mean, going on, and the way they set it up is just all top of the line stuff, top of the line stage, the sound, everything.
Yes.
The
gonna be
porta
an
potty,
outstanding time, period.
Yes, fresh waters, all there. You know what I mean? But you got to be there. You got to be.
Y'all.
All right, y'all, and also stop the violence out there because to kill another man, you're killing yourself. Unless you're not ready to check out and you're defending yourself, and you want to stay around in this realm a little bit longer, then I'm sure we can all forgive you for that. But wanton violence because you can't activate your composure or your higher self,
that doesn't work.
Yeah, and then they're gonna these wacky criminologists in there, and they're gonna show up in court. You know what I mean? You're gonna sit there with your lips poked out, and you know what I mean? Like, man, all that some BS. But enough of my yapping. Let me turn it over to this brother to handle his business.
Welcome. Today on the Self Love Show, how junk science shapes criminal injustice in the U.S. As always, we have a very important video that I want you to check out. The Silverback More Growth and Development platform, which we're building the Self Love Nation off of. But before that, as always, we have the Self Love Show quote of the day. There is no excuse for bad science in the courtroom. Junk science undermines the integrity of the judicial process and casts doubt on legitimate scientific findings. Consequences can be devastating, not just for the wrongly convicted, but for the pursuit of truth itself. Once again, there's no excuse for bad science in the courtroom. Junk science undermines the integrity of the judicial process and casts doubt on legitimate scientific findings. The consequences can be devastating, not just for the wrongly convicted, but for the pursuit of truth itself. Charles E. Aiken.
Yeah, to get the right person, and you're sitting there in court with your public defender out there, and they got that scientist in there that we're gonna get into that, and who is it usually? It's usually the copper colored filling up the prisons.
Absolutely. Silverback More Growth and Development platform. Number 1, repair our nation via reparations. We demand our silver back. Number 2, connect our breadwinners with our activists. And 3, show an accurate depiction of African American Chi-Town. 4, to shine a light on positive influence. 5, heal our community one person at a time. 6, to provide an unfiltered platform for our influencers. 7, recycle the black dollar. 8, to provide mentors for the mentorless.
9,
to close the gap between us and our pink kinsmen. Number 10, protect our women, children, and men by any and all means necessary.
that part right there, and it looks like Brother Wordsmith, the Riddler, not the Diddler, has solved the today's riddle once again. So he'll be giving you the key at the end of the show. And speaking of show, in case you missed last week, we had an edition. We sat with our brother, sits on the board that decides who's going to be a board certified radiologist. That was last week, right? Yeah. Health equity consciousness. We went there.
Mm-mm.
No.
That
wasn't last week.
Was the yay?
Oh, thank you. What the hell's going on here, Scottie Pippen? Karen. All right, you're right. It was the Book of Yay. The Book of Yay unpacked. Okay,
Yes.
that's been suppressed. I'm surprised it hasn't been pulled down, but
Yeah.
they suppressed that right away out there.
Yeah, no doubt.
Man, there's some good stuff on there. We're gonna
yeah.
we're gonna drop some
shorts.
shorts. Yeah. Look at it. We're gonna drop some short stuff with our commentary on that. We were reacting to the video. That's all we were doing.
Yeah.
You know, for some reason, never mind, because they'll suppress this one, and it's on and on and on and on. All right, we got a poll question up. I'll put it in the chat. Do you trust government-funded scientists ferried out in the U.S. criminal courts? So you got some young Pookie, some young Ray Ray, or even O.J. Simpson, and you got the scientists coming in there, and we're going to talk about the type of training that some of these guys get. They show up there smart, you know what I mean? At the end of the day, they're poor and stupid. Well, many of them. And they need the contract. But do you trust, oh man, I'm swaying the witness. Do you trust government-funded scientists ferried out in U.S. criminal courts? Number one, your first response could be no, it's poppycock. Can you say poppycock on YouTube?
Yeah, because I'm not sure what it means.
Yeah, poop. BS.
Yeah, you definitely can say it then.
Yeah. That's the type of thing, where our grandmothers in the community would say certain things to substitute the cuss word. Or if you're down here in the deep South or something and you get a older white grandmother and that's poppycock, that's their way of, you know what I mean? All right. And then we've got your second option is yes, the government doesn't lie in court. They got no reason. Why the government want to go after Brother Wordsmith? I mean, why? And we can give you a lot of reasons why. You know what I mean? Outside of the fact that it's for profit. I'm leading the witness again. All right, number 3, mostly. Okay, so you mostly trust the science, but you agree that nobody's perfect, that some errors could be made, but you're okay with innocent people, totally lives being ruined. And then finally, unsure, I enjoy rubbing my bum on the fence. Those are your options. And Brother Wordsmith and I will let you know we responded to that. And at some point, I will put that into the chat. Y'all support Ancestral Echoes. There's a link in the chat. Click on that. You're going to have the time of your life. It's a 3-day event. You don't have to be there for all 3 days, but pop out. I suggest, you post up and have yourself a great time out there.
Marvelous occasion.
Yeah.
Believe you me.
How junk science shapes criminal injustice in the United States. Y'all hit that like button. That's what we're unpacking here today. All right, bro. I got a video. I don't know if you saw it. It was through Reuters. Okay, fair use. Russell's branding.
Well, stay pretty unplugged, and I didn't hear about this one.
Drop dead gorgeous. Drop dead gorgeous.
British police said they charged actor-comedian Russell Brand on Friday with rape and multiple counts of assault in cases relating to 4 separate women between 1999 and 2005. The 50-year-old, a former top British broadcaster and Katy Perry's ex-husband, denied the allegations in 2023 and said he had never had non-consensual sex. He could not immediately be reached for comment on Friday. Police said Brand was charged with 1 count of rape, 1 count of indecent assault, 1 count of oral rape, and 2 counts of sexual assault. Brand is due to appear in court for a first hearing on May 2nd, police said. In the 2000s, he was a regular on British screens, known for his flamboyant style and appearance. By the early 2020s, he had faded from mainstream culture, appearing primarily on his internet channel, where he airs his views on US politics and free speech.
Hello there, you awakening wonders. Now this is...
In September 2023, he returned to the headlines when the Sunday Times newspaper and Channel 4's show Dispatches reported the rape allegations. They said 4 women had accused Brand of sexual assaults, including a rape between 2006 and 2013. Weeks later, London's Met Police opened a sex crimes investigation. Brand said then that he, quote, absolutely refuted the allegations. The police said their investigation is still open.
I mean, he's had an incredible life.
Oh.
First off, let's say everybody's innocent until they're proven guilty. We don't want to sound like that wacky California DA. Air quotes got another video with him saying, basically coming out there saying this guy who's guilty of murder. He just did it again, bro.
Oh my God.
And they do that all the time, bro. And then they, get the jury and then it's all fixed. But this guy here, I don't know. I can't help but feel like you would have heard about that if he was some sort of copper color.
Definitely. What I did hear about him is what he spent some time with Puffy.
There you go. MI6, they're all assets. I think they were all, in my opinion, assets. And you know what I mean? And they can push that button on you at any time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, buddy, you used to get a deal where you had immunity. Now they tell you, look, buddy, you can go to jail now in the prime of your life, Snoop Dogg, allegedly, in my opinion. Or you can become an asset. And, you can live the prime of your life out there on the streets, be with your kids and your family and be rich and leave everybody set up. And then we're going to push that button on you at some point. If you don't do the right thing and delete yourself, we're going to have to push that button on you. You know what I mean? Because you know too much.
Yeah, they definitely push the button.
They can push the button.
They definitely do.
We're not necessarily saying that's happening here. But we're just throwing out scenarios. I'd have to believe that's happened at least once in human history.
Most definitely.
Yeah. I think we can agree to that. All right. Russell Brand out there. Free Russell Brand. Drop dead gorgeous.
I don't know enough about it.
And it's tough, man. From 1995, I mean, how can you even defend yourself?
And then the video was kind of strange because it said from 99 or whatever.
Yeah.
And then it came out and said 2009 to 2013, or 2005 to 2013. I don't know, which is it?
But when you're on Reuters and TMZ, they on your bum.
Yeah.
Well, you pissed off you did something.
Yeah, because anything that's public.
I'm going to say this. With my memory, if I'm on the jury and he came in there with this defense. I don't remember the B. I'd be totally okay with it. How long ago was this? Yeah, I don't remember any of it. Listen, there are people from college that I could not tell you. Do you know what I mean? I can tell you this. I can tell you this. And nothing
consensual.
That's right. That's right. That's right. That's all I can tell you. But as far as the details of what anybody's talking about, I don't even remember that B. You know what I mean? That would be my defense. Especially if I couldn't remember. Like, bro, it's a slippery slope. That's why robot AI relations is coming soon, because you're not gonna have to worry about catching that charge 25, 30 years later. I bet you get to a point
I
where
don't know. It is gonna get to a point where the robot's gonna be able to say, "Oh, you took advantage of me."
Yeah. The robot attorney's gonna get out there and file some sort of lawsuit and get robot rights. You're right, Self. And we're gonna say they're conscious, they got feelings, and you know what I mean? But I pay for this robot to do that, and then they're gonna call that prostitution. Yeah. Are we
Slippery
free?
slope.
Yeah, it's a slippery slope. All right, y'all. But today we're here to talk about junk science. All right, how it shapes the criminal injustice in the United States. You know what I mean? They can have junk science in that Russell Crowe case, whatever his name is, Russell Brand. Yeah, whatever. I don't care. He looks like he stinks. You know what I mean? He does. Looks like he stinks. All right, let's move forward. Padre Pio's vision. I'd never heard of Padre Pio. Went down slippery slope. Fair use. And this is air quotes. Pick up air quotes. Fair use.
To Father Gabriele Amorth, the Vatican's chief exorcist, Padre Pio spoke of a time when churches would be full, but not with true believers. He warned, the houses of God will be filled with those who come not to worship, but to seek shelter from the heat of summer. They will speak of peace while preparing for war, carrying golden crosses while their hearts remain dark. He gave a clear sign to watch for. When the faithful begin to doubt the presence of Christ in the Eucharist, know that the time has come. To Dr. Giuseppe Massa, his trusted physician, Padre Pio revealed something even more alarming. He spoke of a time when the sky would be wrapped in darkness for 3 days, but not due to any natural cause. Instead, it would be spiritual darkness manifesting in the physical world. People will retreat into their homes, he said, yet many will find no refuge. The faithful must keep blessed candles and holy water, for only these will bring light in the darkness. Those who look outside out of curiosity will perish instantly. The sign? A year of unprecedented natural disasters, followed by a winter where flowers bloom out of season. The final prophecy was given to Lucia Montagna, his spiritual daughter, just days before his passing. Padre Pio called it the Great Warning. My child, he told her, there will come a time when people will refuse to believe because they think they know everything. Science will claim to have all the answers, but will miss the most important one. The world will celebrate technology that promises eternal life while millions of souls perish. The sign? When men create life without women and machines begin to think like humans, know that the time of the Great Warning is at hand. Now let me share Padre Pio's final words before he passed. With his stigmata completely healed, he said something both sobering and hopeful. The world will soon face its greatest test. Many will fall away believing God has abandoned them, but those who remain faithful will witness the greatest miracle since the resurrection. Do not fear the darkness. Be the light that others follow through it.
All right. Pio. Padre Pio made those predictions. They said he was a pious man. Pious. And I think he eventually, he got sainthood, but he had the stigmata. That was the church has confirmed that, allegedly. Also, one of these deep meditation, pray all the time guys. Another father allegedly came in there and Pio was praying on the floor, like laying out, and he saw like a bright light over him and stuff. And he said and he said Pio told him, if you knew what I knew, you'd be down here praying too. Something to that effect. So, what's Spirit telling you on those visions there?
There's always a end of days prophecy or what it is. But I mean, it's pretty accurate to what's going on and happening right now. So
Yeah.
they didn't have those things in his time.
Darkness in the sky could be a super mothership that pulls up that's so big it just blocks out the sun. We got CEO 5000 Stony Island. He said that Russell Brand did that. They say he done. And then I said, they who? And then he said the whistleblowers pause is insane. Yeah. See, that's the thing. That's the thing, though. I mean, you're telling me. Never mind. I want to stay away from that topic. Yeah, I'm gonna stay away from that topic. All right. How junk science shapes criminal injustice in the United States. But yeah, that vision, yeah, I agree with you, bro. You just gotta take it for what it is. I just found a lot of it interesting. Now, the church denies those visions.
Correct.
Yeah, they deny that he ever made those reports to those people. So, yeah, allegedly. All right, y'all. Today's riddle. I claim to reveal the truth, yet I may mislead. In court, I can sway a jury to concede. From fibers to prints, I'm put to the test. But if flawed, I might wrongly attest. What am I? It's pinned in the chat, you guys. Type in your guess, and then we'll tell you if you're right, wrong, or stop it. Okay. All right. Enough of the appetizers out there, fella.
Let's quench the self-love nation's thirst.
Yeah, let's do that. And I don't think Karen has got anything up there. No, Karen doesn't. All right. Okay, Karen. All right, John. We do the show. For those of us who are, copper colored specifically, in honor of the fallen like George Floyd, rest his soul. The More Growth and Development Program. That's our platform. We're here to chronicle our story, to rival his story, right? The AI right now is, calculating everything that's being put out here in the world. So we feels like this can add a little balance to it, huh, fella?
That's right.
And this is for our progeny, which could in fact be us coming back in return. Maybe these will be little breadcrumbs that, we'll be able to see and maybe, remember where we're buried. And if that's too much for you to take in right now, maybe, you can just say, oh, okay. All right. Yeah, I vibe with that. You might be looking at yourself, self. You know what I mean? You'd be looking at yourself at 9 years old on this show, giving advice to your 9-year-old self. How magnanimous would that be?
Amazing.
You know what I mean? It's possible, allegedly. All right. All right. So that's what we're on today. So appreciate y'all bearing with us. All right. All right. What is junk science? Let's just start there. And how does it manifest in the criminal justice system? But let's start with, what is junk science?
Untested or unproven theories presented as scientific fact, often without sufficient research or evidence to support.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they come in there and the blood splatter, the gunpowder residue, all the stuff that we've been watching on TV, right?
Yeah.
Predictive programming us so that we're in the jury. We just lap it all up.
Yeah. It can involve flawed methodologies, biased interpretations, and oversimplifications of complex scientific findings.
Yes. Which ultimately misleads and misinforms juries and judges, ultimately skewing many verdicts. And I mean, when we get into the science that is now being looked at as junk science, like the people who started this rabbit hole, this research stuff, they say the only thing is DNA evidence, and we can show to you how that can be. So the evidence itself is accurate, but it's it's yes,
changing
yes,
results and
yes,
doing nefarious things with evidence.
yeah, yes.
And some of it using total nonsense.
Well, you heard that guy on the video we play at the top of the show, the cop in New York. And thank God we got his evidence. You know, we can take his DNA and plant it on the scene.
Yeah.
Yeah. He said it.
Right out his mouth. Plain as day.
A Freudian slip. You know what I mean? Yeah, he said it plain as day, didn't he? That's when you've just been a cop too long. Talking to cops too long.
He didn't even know he was saying. He thought he was saying the other way around.
Yeah, but that's the wonders of
Right.
the universe. You know what I mean? That's why you say stuff, they always have to keep eking out the truth, because otherwise they'll start blurting it out. You know. All right. Okay, so how does it manifest in the just? We'll get there. We'll get there. Karen has a video. Advanced. All right, let's see here. We just want to react to this right quick. This is why we're doing it. PBS NewsHour, y'all. Fair use.
In April, we brought you the story of Sonia Casey, a 68-year-old Texas woman convicted in 1990. In April, we brought you the story of Sonia Casey, a 68-year-old Texas woman convicted in 1993 of murdering her uncle by arson and sentenced to 99 years in prison.
And she was job dead gorgeous.
Here's an update to her story. Casey maintained her innocence throughout her trial
Job
and
dead
conviction, even after the case's toxicologist produced evidence that her uncle had traces of gasoline on his clothes.
Sonia, did you have anything to do with the fire that occurred on November 10th, 1991?
No, I did not.
She seems poor and stupid, though. You know what I mean?
Ever
NASCAR.
anything. No.
Later evidence found the toxicologist's report was faulty and that the fire was started accidentally. Casey was released from prison on parole, but was never exonerated and had to report to a parole officer once a month for 17 years.
Can you believe
It's
this?
a big burden because you can't even get a place to live.
That's crazy.
Everybody does your background. Where you're living, where you're going to work.
The Innocence Project of Texas filed a motion to reopen Casey's case under the junk science law.
Junk
A
science.
new law in
Junk
Texas that makes it
It's a law.
possible to appeal a case
We've been
if
seeing
there
this
is
for
scientific
years.
evidence that was not available at the time of conviction, or if there is new evidence that contradicts what was used to convict.
Sonia is a real live example of somebody whose life was really destroyed based upon bad scientific testimony in court.
On November 2nd, Texas's Court of Criminal Appeals found Casey not guilty of the death of her uncle, fulfilling her dearest wish for her and her family.
And my hopes for the future are to get everything like this over with and to be exonerated before I die. And it would be really nice for my children.
Prior to the trial,
You know, why don't presidents pardon people like that and governors? What's the big deal?
It's not high profile enough out there.
She's poor and stupid, and I don't mean that. You know, that's what I mean. The South Park would call her. We really don't feel that way, but usually when you're less sophisticated, less quote unquote indoctrinated with the education, and less money, you're living in the projects or a trailer home, they can keep ramming nonsense down your throat. You have no idea what the law is. You got a public defender that just wants to drive a Mercedes one day, go out to the club. You know what I mean? A public defender's probably compromised. I mean, I don't know. My conspiracy theories is I need to put my tin hat on.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of that. It's a lot of prosecutors don't want to lose any cases. Stuff they shouldn't prosecute in the first place. They go
And
after.
great point, because the defense attorney and the prosecution wins when you take a plea. Did you know that? They both get a W for that case.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Not. Right. I know what you mean by that, but right. Right. That's crazy. So that's why, think about it. If you're a defense attorney, and you're trying to get to be a big private defense attorney and have this great record and this, man, if you can get even if people are innocent, if you get 10 people and you know all 10 are innocent and the state is offering something less and you can get them to agree with it, and they'll say after this they'll take it off you and you get your life back, blah blah blah, it's the best way because you don't want to go in front of a jury trial because they got these doctors that's going to come in here and they're going to suggest all this stuff, and that everybody wins but you.
Period. And they have a fiduciary duty to not do that, but you know how that goes.
Unless you're guilty of it, then,
well, I mean,
the deal,
they have a fiduciary duty to do what's best for you.
Correct.
Right. And not something that's going to benefit them over
I got
what's
you.
best for you.
I got you. But if I've been indoctrinated and I've been programmed, I'm saying as a lawyer, you're going to work for that firm, you're going to make as much money as possible and I live in that gated community. You know what I mean? Got to pay off those student loans. I just want the W at that point. I'm saying the weak-minded person. Yeah. So that's leads me to the question, why do many legal professionals accept flawed scientific evidence in trials, dear fellow?
Because it can help push their narrative. I mean, all lawyers are narrative pushers.
Storytellers?
Well, the defense has to make a narrative that they're guilty, and the prosecutor has to, I mean,
You mean
not
that they're
guilty.
innocent? Yeah.
That they're not guilty. And the prosecutor's got to present, it's not necessarily the truth.
Well, the defense, a good defense should be not making sure you're not guilty or innocent, but reasonable doubt.
Yes.
Right. That's all they should be pushing for, and that's all they should be reminding the jury about all day. You know what I'm saying? So if I'd stand up, my client is innocent. Do you understand? You understand what I'm saying, Self? All the way up to the time that judge steps that thing. This man right here, Brother Wordsmith, is innocent. He's an innocent man right there. Does everybody in that jury understand this? Do you understand that, Your Honor, that this man is innocent right here? They got him sitting here in that monkey suit, with those handcuffs on, but that is an innocent man right there. You recognize he's a ma'am, and he's an innocent ma'am. This is the Constitution of the United States. They don't want that. They don't want that in court. I'd be out of order, wouldn't I, Self?
Yep.
Yeah, you're out of order.
Well, I mean, no, if it's your opening statement or your final statement.
Every time I stand up, I'd be like, this is an innocent man right here.
Oh, yeah, they'd be like, you're out of order.
They can't.
I mean,
I want it in the record, ma'am, that this is an innocent man sitting right here. Why can't I have that? He's innocent until proven guilty. Can we have that in the record, Your Honor? Yeah, they wouldn't like me in court. I'd probably be hurting my, I don't know.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Why do many? Okay. All right. You're answering that. You answered it. Yeah. It helps their think, Also, you got to understand, these are lawyers, not scientists, right? A lot of them are unsophisticated. A lot of people became lawyers and doctors, and outside of that they do with the tunnel vision, they're unsophisticated when it comes to anything else. Not all of them. Many legal professionals rely on the perceived authority of science without fully scrutinizing its methodology. And that's what my invisible Noop did in the OJ case.
Yeah.
What's my Noop's name? Rest his soul.
Johnny Cochran.
The great Johnny Cochran. Oh, he went right after the monkey science, didn't he, Self?
Yep. He went directly for it.
Went out and got his own scientists and good scientists too, from good schools. Like, who is this guy? We don't even know who this guy is over there. You know what I mean? Yeah, yeah, yeah. The allure of scientific language and expert testimony can overshadow critical evaluation, making courtrooms susceptible to evidence that hasn't been thoroughly validated. And meaning this whole idea of this junk science hasn't been proven by science. It just got accepted by the courts. They what'd you say?
I said, which is foolish. That doesn't make any sense at all.
Yeah, they didn't do any. Yes, they didn't test all of the like blood splatter. They didn't do the double blind and the triple blind studies and the
White patterns. And
yes, nothing.
Speech patterns on 911 calls.
All of this crap.
Yeah, it's
I'm
nonsense.
questioning the what's that they said they're doing with the cell phone and the location data, and he was next to him. I'm questioning all that. I need
cell
somebody.
towers.
It pinged and that pinged and pinged.
Yeah.
I need somebody to go. I need a
verify that.
Yes, you show me the code where you can do all of this. You know exactly.
Prior to the trial, the prosecution discloses the evidence they intend to use against Jimmy to prove their case, and it looks pretty bad. You spend countless days poring over the main piece of evidence, the conclusion of a tool mark examiner. The report of this examiner says that the impressions taken from the tools they found in Jimmy's apartment can be scientifically linked to the tool marks left on all 3 of the bombs.
That sounds like nonsense to
Today,
me.
on Wrongful Conviction,
that
Junk Science.
All right, that was Wrongful Conviction, y'all. It's a podcast. Y'all need to check out. But go ahead, bro.
Yeah, it's just nonsense. It sounds fucking ignorant and stupid.
It does. It does, bro. It does. And I would think, okay, if you're gonna have a trial where there's DNA science and all of this being presented, I want some scientists on that jury. I don't want a bunch of I worked at the Walmart and didn't. Yeah, nah, I never took science class. What do you mean? We didn't have science in my school. We was in the trailer park. STEM. You know what I mean? That's what I'm saying, bro. You'd have to have somebody who has an understanding. You can't just be taken what these scientists and doctors are saying as truth, because it's been proven, even with making of pharmaceuticals, that if you can pay certain people enough to put that white coat on, they'll do what, Self?
Whatever you tell them. Say whatever you tell them to say.
Push opiates, you write prescriptions.
And someone who just, thinks they're got the guy and lying on DNA. I mean, was that scientist that 200 and some cases or something?
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So you might feel a certain way about crime itself, and then the 12 and everybody come to you and say, this is him. We know it's him. We know it's him. We just need you to, fix the evidence where this works. And that's what they say. You can do 1 million blood splatters to eventually catch that splatter you need, but that's not science. You know what I mean? That's happenstance. So they
just repeat it.
Yeah.
And it's just nonsense. Because the controlled blood splatter never happens how it happened for real.
Correct, bro. I mean, man, they say the fingerprints, they did study Self where they brought the same scientists back, and so they had the data. They were the same ones who did the review, but they gave them the same type of evidence, but it was under the different, these guys are innocent. And you know what I mean? And they took the same evidence and magically made the science say something totally opposite, but the same data, bro.
It's criminal. It's criminal, no justice system.
So
People that's supposed to give you justice are the criminals.
Yeah, and it's amazing though, bro, how the good defense attorneys, they think like us.
Yeah.
They don't be in there just taking it up the bum from the court.
No. They be setting the whole thing up.
And mesmerizing the jury. Mesmerizing. And just like you, one of you jury, if you guys were sitting right here, you'd be an innocent man too, wouldn't you?
Man.
You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah.
yeah. You know, I've been watching the TV shows and the news, and everybody's been suggesting my client is guilty, and you guys have been exposed to that. I don't care what y'all lied and told everybody else, order, you know, because of the lie. I take that back, but I'd be like, you know what I mean? I know that some of y'all have been exposed to this, so that's why I'm going to expose you to the fact that this man sitting right there is a ma'am, and that ma'am is innocent. Yeah. Yeah.
He's a what?
I couldn't find that on the internet, man, from that show Oz. Odebisi, when the white supremacist dude wanted to bum assault the kid, and he owed him something. He owed him, you know, and Odebisi ultimately gave him some cartons of cigarettes, but the Muslims came and said, y'all not doing that, you know, to him, you know, and he was just telling the old German dude, he was like, that boy's a ma'am. He was saying ma'am, but he was saying ma'am the whole time.
No,
Bro,
he was saying he's a
ma'am.
I was sissy, ma'am. He was saying that he's a girlish. That's why he was trying to do him.
No, Adebisi was saying that the little boy is a man and you can't do him. It wasn't
can't do him.
Yeah, but he was mispronouncing it. That's what he was calling. He was saying he's a ma'am, though. And I was like, why does a Muslim keep calling that young black man a ma'am? But he was saying man. It was just the way he was pronouncing it. But I looked all over the internet for that scene, and they've swerved it. It's all over YouTube, but that one, I can't find that scene. And then he was like, how many bucks will it take for you to, you know, pay off his debt? And he was like, 30 bucks. That's what the white dude said. So they gave him the cigarettes, but then he just told him he's a ma'am. That's what he was trying to tell him. He was making him say, see that he's a man here. Is he a man? And the dude's head was all messed up. And my head would have been messed up too. What are you asking me? Is he a ma'am? Yes, that's why we're here.
Right,
yes,
that's
it's a ma'am.
That's why we're trying to take advantage of that situation.
Man, I gotta find it, man. Get it over the air quotes because he's gonna have fun with that. All right. All right. We got one more. Yes, big ups to Karen. It's good having Karen back. You know, wasn't the same. Jim was cool. You know, Jim wasn't calling the cops on everybody. Jim just kept trying to get you to do wacky drugs with him.
Today, on Wrongful Conviction, Junk Science, we're going to explore blood-stained pattern evidence.
Wacky.
Like other forms of junk science used in criminal trials, blood-stained pattern evidence falsely claims
these marks calling blood splatter evidence junk science. I love these guys.
That it can identify the culprit of violent crimes. But blood-stained pattern evidence has no grounding in any verifiable science.
Yeah.
So how did this kind of junk science become admissible? It turns out that blood-stained pattern analysis was born in the basement of one man's home in a small town named Corning, New York.
My man was down there in the basement. They had him conjure up some. I forgot who the case was.
Splatter and blood.
Yeah, they had him conjure up some shit. Yeah. Yeah.
It wasn't actual blood, blood type substance.
Yes.
It's ridiculous.
Well, they were using pig's blood, allegedly.
Yeah, but that's still not the same.
No, it's not the same. It's not the same as when your blood comes out, it's going to be warm. It's a whole lot of factors, man. You know what I'm saying? And the pig, I hope you didn't just slaughter the pig right there and you're doing that. Maybe you did, but it's pig's blood and it's not the same, to your point. None of it's the same. You know, a blood splatter is so random, and you know what I'm saying. So you know, it's like using glass shatter evidence. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And they've used that. with a glass that shattered on the ground. When we picked him up, he had some glass under his shoe that we put there. And then we had our junk scientists come in and look at it under a super duper
And when you
electron
see
microscope.
the way that the glass spreads out,
It
and
refracts
then
the light.
you can see
Yeah.
where the footprint
Yeah.
is and how he
Yeah.
picked up the glass, and you can see where the glass is missing. See?
Yeah. And you got a jury full of trailer trash because our people don't want to take a day off work and do the right thing. That's why we're getting railroaded. It's all a big system. But it's all a big system. But it should be, I've always said it should be a jury of your peers. You know what I mean? That's an innocent man right there. You recognize he's a copper colored? You recognize he's approximately, 45 to 55 years old? You recognize nobody on the jury looks like that man? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it'd probably be out of order.
The whole system's out of order.
Yeah. They put me in the chambers. Why are you here? You know what I mean? Man, you messing up everything, man. You know what I'm saying? We got a good thing. You need more money, man? We could push that
Sure,
button.
you got a law degree.
Yeah. You sure you want to keep it?
That'd be the motherfucking thing.
We could push two buttons. One that makes you extremely rich and quiet, or one where you're going to be discredited out there and lose your license. Everything you worked for.
Get everything down.
That'd be the thing, Self.
The Self Love Show, giving you more than vitamins and minerals. Food for your soul. Information and plans integral to making your mind grow. With more growth and development, BS is irrelevant to the intelligent. Knowledge, wisdom, and understanding is what we represent. It's the Self Love Show.
Yep.
Self Love
Yep.
Show.
Yep.
Self Love Show.
We do it for our people.
Self Love Show. It's the Self Love Show. It's the Self Love Show.
Too exposed and no equals.
Self Love Show. The Self Love Show. The Self Love Show.
Story Wordsmith 9 Mills.
Self Love Show. The Self Love Show. You
Know how the story go. It's the Self Love Show. Yo, yo, yo. Self Love Show. Today, how junk science shapes criminal injustice to U.S. And we went into some junk science and a couple examples of such, but y'all know how we do. Gonna take a little break while you get some edutainment in the belt. And we'll be right back to expand the conversation for the Self-Love Nation.
Click that link, Ancestral Echoes. Click that link.
Man.
Support your brother.
Go ahead. It's still early bird special. Better get on it.
One of the most astonishing predictions made by WebBot came in 2009. The software forecasted a dramatic future scenario involving military engagements, a battle in the air between military forces and UFOs, inter-UFO conflict. The prediction even suggested that UFOs would engage in combat with each other. The prediction indicated that a specific trigger would set these events in motion. According to WebBot, once this trigger occurred, the predicted events would transpire just 39 days later. Like the prediction stated that 39 days after Joe Rogan interviews Donald Trump, a massive battle will take place in the skies around the world. December 3rd, 2024 is
Moses fleeing the people from Pharaoh.
Right, let my people go.
40 years in a desert. Manna. Let's talk about what manna truly is. And
Agonoski's in the Middle East right now saying manna is Peter.
can we put some sensibility to that? Being in the desert, and our Father, the Creator, loves us beyond. He's going to rain down bread in a desert. Moses summoned the strongest men for them to dig, and that's where the whole term of so it is above, so it is what?
Below.
That means that Moses had the science for them to dig and find water.
Yeah, like the elephants would do.
So what do you find even in the desert when you dig down and find water? Do you find bread or do you find plants?
I was uncomfortable with everything around me that was man-made. The machines that I was hooked up to, the supplies that were there in the hospital, and the only thing that felt okay to me at that point were the people that were around me. I could identify with other souls. And I was very fortunate to have a big window in the hospital room that I was in that had beautiful trees outside of it. And I spent a lot of time just staring at those trees because that was what I was truly connecting with. That nature is what felt the most like that white light to me.
Air quotes say get the likes up.
And to love yourself is to love others. To love others is to love yourself. And so if you don't speak negatively in your mind and out of your mouth about yourself, it's going to become next to impossible to do that about someone else.
Once you realize the science of self, because we're all part of the same being, and we're cells of the Creator, and we should treat each other as such and accordingly.
And know that words and thoughts are vibrations.
They are things. They are actual things. They are actually...
They exist.
Yeah, and people feel them whether you know they do or don't. Whether they know you or don't. It's all in the vibe or vibrations.
Yeah, but if you got a calcified third eye, you know what
it's
I mean?
Still stuff you feel.
All you want is product. I'm not denying it. I'm just saying, it's a lot of calcification out here.
Yeah, they still feel it.
Stand by.
5 non-human species are called ebens, archeloids, quadloids, heptaloids, and trontoloids. These names were given to the alien species by the intelligence community, specifically by MJ5. The ebens are friendly. The trontoloids are the dangerous ones.
Air quotes or not air quotes.
Definitely. So, okay, I saw this video that alleged that it was you involved in this crazy ass shootout. What was that situation? Maybe it might not have been you. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, I don't think it was me.
Okay. But that wasn't related to any of the cases that you caught?
Yeah,
well played. Okay. So...
to remain silent.
Man, thank you guys for inviting me on. Thank you. Great format, very solid. You know, it don't have that low budget movie feel. You know what I'm saying? And we get that a lot in the Black community, for real.
Yeah.
Like people look at us to be fuck ups. They look at us to be low budget. They look at us to be ignorant, stuttering, and use a whole bunch of and all of that. But no, they got the real deal on here. That everybody know who Torian Mills is, baby. They know.
Hey, well, bro.
They're so ignorant.
Hey, but this platform's your platform. This platform's my platform. From Inglewood, California to
the
Chicago,
South Shore.
Crazy thing about it.
This platform is
made for you and me.
It's made for you.
The crazy and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. I was trying to get out the end of the preamble, but go ahead, bro.
Smith 9 Nails, the Self Love Show, the Self Love Show. You know how the story go. It's the Self Love Show.
We're back. More action-packed than ever. So, today we are discussing how junk science shapes criminal injustice in the U.S.
It's the Self Love Show, the Self Love Show.
As usual, talked about what junk science is and the problems and issues with it. As always, we're going to expand the conversation for the Self Love Nation.
know how the story go. It's the Self Love Show.
That it is. That it is. Self Love Show back in the building. All right, y'all. I put that link in there for Ancestral Echoes again. We're gonna keep popping that out there, y'all. They running some great specials. All right, we got another video here. Junk science. Did that one? I don't think we did this one.
Contrary to what pop culture has ingrained in the American conscience, matching known prints of a suspect to prints left at the scene of a crime. Contrary to what pop culture has ingrained in the American conscience, matching known prints of a suspect to prints left at the scene of a crime is not an exact science. So how did fingerprints become so widely accepted and thought of as the gold standard, as foolproof evidence? It turns out that the first time fingerprints were admitted into evidence was almost 110 years ago, and the methods used to match prints to individuals hasn't changed much since.
Person to be able to get there on that level.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Fingerprints is junk science.
You know. Yeah. I mean, if they haven't changed the methods and modes since for 110 years, then absolutely it's junk science.
Yeah, I just assumed the tech had gotten better and they were using laser scans at this point.
It's just no way to get a perfect fingerprint off of something. Like the way that they fingerprint you, you can get the whole print, but you're not
And you see the way they fingerprint you, they roll it and press it.
You get the whole thing from edge to edge.
Yeah.
You're not getting that on anything to compare it to. I mean, not much. You might sometimes, but not much. Nobody's rolling their whole thumb or on the thing they're holding.
So, fingerprints, bite mark analysis, that was it. They had the dentist. They had the same dentist who swore that the bite mark analysis in a court case, they gave them the same set of bite impressions. And I think they gave them like the police's or somebody their own bite impressions, bro. And they were wrong. Like it's monkey science.
Definitely.
You know, they say the bite marks, bro, like so many different factors. Who are you biting? How much body fat did that? Yes.
Yeah.
You know,
everybody's different, so it's not going to be the same for anybody.
Correct. Once the body's dead, how long has it sat there? And then the body starts bloating and expanding. Like, come on. And you got a dentist who's trained on pulling teeth and, extracting nerves and doing everything that dentists do. Big ups, because it's a serious profession, skeletal. But somehow they're the expert on bite marks. I don't think they're studying that in dental school.
No. And worse than that is people that just study bite marks. It's somebody that it's a profession.
Oh, they're taking online courses, self to get this accreditation. Like, and it's not like it's like a 30-day online course. Like the way you can get certified to do CPR, you could be a certified bite mark specialist, and they can bring you into court. You know what I mean? Yeah, this is what
all kinds of nonsense.
Yeah, I mean, well, this is what my training, my indoctrination told me to say. Questionable DNA matching practices have often been flagged. So there's that lady behind me. Yeah, you mentioned her. Just fabricating the evidence so she can get out and go out to the bars and hang out.
Man.
Felt like she was doing the right thing because in her mind.
200 some cases. That shit
crazy. Crazy. Now the cops know who to go to and they want to build a case. And it's advantageous for the officer too to solve these cases. It helps their what?
Record.
Yeah, their careers. you know, they get promoted. They get medals and stuff, more money. And they might be saying, hey, we're doing the right thing because we believe it's that guy. But the bigger issue is this: you get an innocent person in jail, and you have a guilty person running free, still potentially committing calamities and fighting people.
Nuts.
Now, errors and okay, all right, yeah, we wanted to fair use. Rogan, this is from Rogan, y'all. He won't mess with us anymore.
It's the anger that should drive people.
I'm already angry.
Take about this and other things.
Yeah, but about all this.
So bite mark evidence, for instance.
Okay, bite mark. Look,
All right.
here, let me give you an example. I have crooked teeth. Like my bottom teeth are crooked. If I bite into a mouthpiece, like if I get a mouthpiece formed, you can clearly see. I can see that it's my teeth.
You want to know the difference between a mouthpiece and human skin? Everything. Humans, your skin is different than my skin in thickness, in consistency, if you're flexing when I bite you, if it's during a struggle or not. And you have to follow the sign.
This guy says he'll tell people, yeah, I'm representing 9 Mills. He's a defense guy. I'm representing 9 Mills. And he said, everybody ask him, what did he do? Not what is he accused of? You know what I mean?
Right.
That's a problem in America, man.
It is.
That's a problem. You know, if somebody tells you, yeah, you know, man, I'm going to court, you know.
Guilty to be proven innocent.
Yeah. Somebody tells you, yeah, I got to go to court. And when you say, what did you do? Do you know what I mean? And not what are you accused of or why? Yeah. And then they'll say, I'm accused of such and such.
Science. And what the science tells us is that bite marks on human skin are not only unreliable, but there has been study after study that the so-called experts that they call odontologists can't tell the difference between a bite mark and an insect bite. They can't even agree. They were all shown, the self-professed finest odontologists in the country are all shown pictures of marks.
Listen, America, we hate to be this guy, don't we? You know, they look at us and say we're the bad guys.
Yeah. I'm just telling the truth and, you know, shaming them for doing that crapulous behavior.
Yeah.
Marks on human skin, they can't even agree as a threshold matter what's a bite mark and what isn't.
Is that's a medical term, odontologist?
So odontologist is a forensic dentist.
They can't even determine what's a bite mark in the first place. Nevertheless, who did it?
Right.
Dentist that fancies themselves an expert in bite marks.
But it's bullshit.
Not only is it bullshit, but the origin story of all these forensic sciences, you end up down a rabbit hole to some fucked up story that sounds like a wacky religion. Take bite marks, for instance. There's a guy named George Burroughs who's a reverend in the late 1690s. He's accused of torturing young girls, okay? And one of the forms of torture is biting them. And he's tried and convicted, and they take him around the courtroom and pull his mouth open, and they point to the crookedness of his teeth, the ridges in his molars, and they compare it to the bite mark. And he's hanged publicly, and he cites the Lord's Prayer at his hanging, and you know, everybody in the crowd is like, that's kind of fucked up, because witches aren't supposed to be able to cite the Lord's Prayer, because this was a trial during the Salem witch trials. He's the first posthumous exoneration I'm aware of. 20 years after this, they end up finding out that George Burroughs was in a different town altogether, not only didn't bite these people, but that the marks weren't even bites.
This is a part of the Salem.
They killed him because he had crooked teeth.
And they posthumously exonerate him. The colony of Massachusetts pays his family comp.
So I guess that was great for him. After they kill him, they say, "Oh well, he wasn't guilty."
This was years later.
20 years.
Yeah. How's that great for him?
No, that was being very sarcastic.
All right.
Compensation. So watch this. In the 1970s, there's a guy named Walter Marks that is accused of biting a victim in a murder. And the court in that case says, you know what? There is no established science here. It can't be replicated. But bite marks are associated with, identifying accident victims, burn victims, and admits it. And it gets admitted into evidence. The appellate court says, well, if the judge found it credible, who are we to overturn it? And so, Joe, watch this. It now infects, and it's probably an unpopular analogy to use now, but it spreads across the criminal justice system like a virus. Every court just starts citing this Marks case, and judges just start admitting it. The National Academy of Forensic Sciences found that there's no way to replicate it, that it's unreliable. There's this fucking...
I'm flabbergasted, bro. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When you and I talk wacky conspiracy and we say this and that and the third, all the scientists come out, can't replicate it, can't blah, 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 blah. Not one of them ever mentioned, hey, did you know that there's junk science is being used in the criminal courts?
Right. None of them will mention that part. A lot of them don't know. They're just so ignorant and believe in everything. Red, white, and blue, baby. It's
black and white, no gray.
They're going to do it correctly by the book every time.
Yeah, because they have no reason to incarcerate innocent so-called Negroes. They have no motivation to do that. Like, why would they want to do that? He must be guilty. He must have done something. Why would the police be after him? You know what I mean? He probably was moving fake $20 bills that somebody could have gave to him and, had a drug addiction.
Fucking crackpot named West, who was an odontologist that claimed to use 3D pictures and ultraviolet. So they set him up. They sent him...
Here we go.
Bite marks and the mold of the teeth from someone other than the defendant, and said, we think this is the defendant. Can you match it to this bite mark? And he said yes.
Oh, yeah, I can match it.
They sent him the bite mark of someone other than the defendant. I mean, it is that bad of a junk science. So what we're hoping to do is through the...
Okay. That's proof right there.
It's offensive.
It is. So anybody that does that, I'd say 50% of their cases, right, should be fake cases with fake science so that you can test their credibility, right? You know what I mean? And you'd have to be able to look at, because there's going to be some margin of error. But if the national average is, 90% of the people 100% of the people get it right 90% of the time, and you're out there, getting it wrong 90% of the time, you got to be thrown in jail, locked up.
Yeah, there's got to be some, basis for doing a whole fake case for that. So there's a lot of people you can tell are shady and shaky that's handling evidence.
Correct. Everybody that's in that pool that you can call in as an expert should be given some fake cases as the prosecutor pool, from the prosecutor pool. So you can test integrity.
Yeah. Seem very costly. I guess not as costly as incarcerating somebody, huh?
Man, then they're getting out and you're paying them millions of dollars, and it wouldn't be that costly. They're not showing up to court. You're just giving them the evidence and you're saying, we're working this case here. You know what I mean? And this is what we want. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to really have a whole fake case,
Yeah.
How can the criminal justice system distinguish between credible science and junk science? I just gave an example there. But what's your thoughts on that?
I think that it should be reputable science, and and it should be studies and replication and all of the scientific theory for it to be proven to be able to be
scientific
used.
method.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know? So I mean, it's got to be, there's a reason why stuff is not admissible. Lie detector test is not admissible and things of that nature.
Yeah.
This stuff should not be admissible.
Yeah, it's junk science. So yes, reproducibility, peer review, all that science should, okay, yes. So if you don't want to do it that way, then you'd have to have, a peer review before this person goes in there and testifies. You know what I mean? And we put it out there for everybody to review it, something. You can have a wacky liberal group be part of it, and a wacky far to the right scientists be in there, and they peer review it. And yeah, stringent standards, and they should be cross test.
Yeah.
So that they know that, man, some of these cases, when you got a wacky cop coming in here and telling you, man, we know he did it. Some of these cases, they might be setting your ass up.
Yeah.
You're going to lose all credibility. Can't throw them in jail if it's a fake case, but they can lose their license.
It's hard too with a fake case. There's got to be some sort of suspension or something.
Man.
Especially if if it's all the way fake.
Man, you're losing all credibility.
Yeah.
You took an oath, you're supposed to do no harm. You call yourself a scientist. You know what I mean? You're supposed to be impartial. You're supposed to just be doing the science. I watch CSI Miami. You know what I mean? My wife had,
that's where they teach you all about the junk science.
Yeah. Yeah. My wife played a junk scientist on that and on Dexter. Yeah. She was a junk scientist. Yeah, they're making it look all fancy and official. Yeah. All right. We're not gonna play any more of that Rogan, but that was fair use. We got just one more.
I'm Josh Dubin, civil rights and criminal defense attorney and innocence ambassador to the Innocence Project in New York. Today, on Wrongful Conviction Junk Science, we're going to explore bite mark evidence. Like other forms of junk science used in criminal trials, bite mark evidence does not benefit crime victims or their loved ones. So why is it treated like credible science? It turns out that the charade of bite mark evidence is actually older than the United States. Even when examined under a microscope, the similarities that can be observed between two hairs are open to wide interpretation.
Oh, the hair evidence stuff.
In other words, there are no definitive traits that can prove with any scientific certainty that a suspect's hair matches a hair found at a crime scene. Yet hair comparison analysis was still being used to falsely identify and convict innocent people up until the year 2000. And today, there are still people who are incarcerated that were convicted based on this false evidence.
So-called copper-colored people. And if I'm on the jury cell and the scientists came in there, hair evidence, and they sat there, you know what I mean? And they said, well, this is it. And without a doubt, this can't be anybody else's hair, but it is, then it skews my whole presentation when I'm back there in the jury room.
Absolutely. It's him.
Right.
The expert witness came out and said it's him because of this, and this.
Yeah.
Convict.
Which is why many people were probably saying, man, they planted that hair on the scene then. Because they were like, if you're saying that's my hair, then somebody put it there.
Yeah, period. Now we hear you can't even prove it's the hair.
And that's the thing with the DNA evidence. And if I were to go out and do this type of stuff, I'd have other people's DNA with me. I'd have a mixture, blood vials mixed with multiple people's blood in it. You know what I mean? And they'd still come in there and say, without a fact, without a doubt, it's his blood. Do you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. The blood type analysis, boy, they was convicted people on all type of stuff. What does funding and resource limitations, you kind of mentioned that earlier, play in perpetuating such junk science?
You don't have the wherewithal or the lawyership to fight the junk science. If you got a PD and he's, not challenging the junk science, then, that's.
The state doesn't have the funding for the PD to get you a alternative junk scientist of any merit.
Right.
Versus if you're an O.J. Simpson and you had a bag like his and you could pay for a Johnny Cochran, then they can take some of that money and get a real good board certified scientist come in and look at that like the way you and I look at it and say, this is all nonsense.
This is nonsense.
Yeah.
Well, the blood has this preservative thing in it that when you take a sample, that's what's in there, and it's mixed in with the.
I'd stake my career on it versus this guy who did the online course paid for by the state. I'm studying criminal justice. I'm studying criminal justice. Yeah, you're being indoctrinated too.
Period.
Yeah. According to ChatGTP, underfunded forensic labs and limited access to modern tech or training can force reliance on older, less reliable methods. Resource constraints may push departments to use readily available but unvalidated approaches, thus contributing to the prevalence of junk science. So they took it from a different approach.
Yeah. Uh-oh. There we go.
We had man, I think they cheated Houston in that game. I'll just throw that out there.
It was
Gonzalez.
It was pretty bad.
Yeah. I hate to be that guy all the time. That's why I stopped watching it. First game I've watched in years, and I'm like, oh man, they're ringing one team up like the way they do it at line 9. I'm like, all these guys in foul trouble. First 5 minutes of the second half.
4 total fouls in the first half.
Then they let that guy just reach in there at the end of the game, and you know what I mean? But it's all good. I don't care.
Gonzalez explained that these blue dots indicated the presence of dermal nitrates from gunpowder residue.
Now, this is a big one. They got everybody wearing gloves and they're out there shooting.
Gonzalez explained that these blue dots indicated the presence of dermal nitrates from gunpowder residue. It took only a few years for the paraffin test to become widely used in police departments across the United States. Within 3 years of Gonzalez's demonstration, it was used as forensic evidence in the murder trial of James L. Westwood in Pennsylvania. But Westwood's defense attorney called his own expert witness and found that 13 different substances could also cause the blue dots to appear. Ordinary soot, certain brands of toothpaste.
Ordinary soot, toothpaste.
Tobacco, cigars, cigarette ashes.
Cigarette ashes, blunts.
And types of matches.
Matches. That makes sense too, don't it, Self?
Yeah, you sparking the match and it's your hand out there.
And they've been like checking people for, gunpowder residue on their hand and coming to court saying, well, he had gunpowder residue on his hand. And everybody just accepted it because we saw it on TV.
Period.
I believe it.
Crime shows, yeah. It's like, it's real.
Yeah.
Okay. Must be real.
Yeah.
Convicted me had the gunshot residue.
Yeah.
So that's a real thing.
Because now, Self, if you got the gloves, they'd be like, here's a video of him using his credit card to buy the gloves at Walmart. You know what I mean? Yeah. He's on.
Yeah, bought me some gloves.
And I had matches residue on the gloves. I was lighting matches. When I smoke my blunts, I wear my gloves. Allegedly. You know what I mean? Yeah. All right. Let's see if we had any more before we wrap up. Beta Noop on the set. You know what I mean? Let's see.
It was 1985, and Robert Lee Stinson was on trial for the murder of his neighbor.
She was the 63-year-old widow found dead near the corner of 7th and Center Streets. The crucial evidence in this case is bite marks found on the body of the victim.
2 forensic dentists said the bite marks matched Stinson's teeth, but there were some puzzling discrepancies. They claimed Stinson's broken tooth made this mark, even though there was no mark for the adjacent full-size tooth. And when they were called to testify in court, nobody asked them about that.
The bite had to be inflicted by a dentition identical to that of Mr. Stinson's.
Stinson's trial was a test of whether our criminal justice system was capable of detecting unreliable forensic science. And with the future and freedom of a young man on the line, the result was an absolute, system-wide failure.
Oh, Wisconsin? Please.
Yeah, no doubt.
Good luck. Copper color?
Something I did not commit, he wrote. The judge denied his. He prepared a letter asking for a replacement for his lawyer, who only took his case 2 weeks before trial. Your Honor, I'm facing life for something I did not commit, he wrote. The judge denied his request, which came in the middle of the trial, and she also denied his lawyer's motion to exclude the bite mark evidence. She said there are adequate standards and controls in the area of forensic odontology. It is a recognized area of science.
Yeah, it's junk science.
Yeah.
Frankly, at the time,
yeah,
it was not a close decision for me. Even though it was unique testimony, I didn't have anything in front of me that indicated that it was not reliable, and it certainly was helpful to the jury, I think, and
it was hurtful for the jury, and you just trusted it without doing your own damn research.
Relevant to the issues, and so I admitted the evidence.
At the time, Wisconsin.
That's what I'm saying. These people are lazy, Self. They be out at dinner all the time and drinking and going to bars. I'm telling you, bro, they're not doing their work like you think they are.
Wisconsin only required that forensic testimony be
not like you think they are.
relevant and helpful to the jury. Judges weren't required to assess its reliability.
You have an older woman who's been raped and murdered. We've got an expert who's saying we know who did it. If the judge had excluded that evidence, he would have gone free. And it would have been a legal stretch for her to do that given the state of the law and the precedent at the time.
As the appeals court would point out in a footnote, by the time of Stinson's trial, bite mark evidence had been accepted in 19 jurisdictions and rejected by none. The court.
Everybody else accepted it.
Yeah, well, since they said it's okay, I guess it's okay.
Yeah, I mean,
we don't want to use that then.
18.
The bite mark evidence, that worked. That worked.
I saw them 18 people down there eating pork chops. I said, give me a plate of pork chops. What else am I supposed to do?
Man, did you see that? They said an indentation.
Yes,
significant of a missing tooth.
Yes, but
how much sense does that make?
But the tooth that it was a half tooth, and the tooth that was full next to it, there was no indentations.
Yeah, so
how much sense does that make?
I mean, it wouldn't make no sense that the broken tooth.
Correct.
Without any of that.
Correct. But nobody asked questions about that because that's why he asked for a different lawyer. Yeah.
Right. You heard what that dude said, the scientist said there's like no other way that could be anybody else. It's definitely identical with his, and that was just a complete fallacy.
But nobody, Johnny Cochran would have been on his ass.
Yeah. He would have had to look at it.
Correct.
Had somebody else look at it.
And this guy,
this shit don't make any sense. And, he definitely would have pointed that out.
Yeah, and yes, and I'm sure the defendant that's why he wanted a lawyer. The people in the jail was telling him, yeah, how your lawyer point that out? And the public defender is probably telling him, no, we just want to get the expert off the stand as quick as possible.
Crap.
Yeah.
Court in Stinson's case was no different, and the bite mark evidence went before the jury.
That the jury misunderstands the power of that experience.
Dr. Johnson seemed to make sense to me when he testified. He certainly was qualified, being a professor at the university in the dental school.
Here you have this very learned dentist who has no reason to lie.
No reason to lie. He probably don't like black people.
Look
or feels
at that
like
motherfucker.
Huh?
I said, look at that.
Yeah. Or feels like the guy was guilty,
Yeah, he said there's no way it was identical. The bite mark.
Who comes in and tells you this is rock solid science. That was a jury to decide he must be wrong.
Yeah.
That
match to a reasonable scientific certainty. Stinson's lawyer did try to get a defense expert of his own, but that expert was never called to counter the prosecution's dentists in court, because after he examined the evidence, he agreed with them. Instead of two sides battling it out before the jury would ask the two bite mark experts a combined 240 questions. But they didn't ask the most important one.
The real question that we should be asking is, what is the evidence that shows us that people in this field reach accurate results?
Right.
It's not rocket science.
Forensic scientists can have protocols and guidelines, use well-accepted tools and technology, but we won't know if their methods are actually reliable until we have what's called an error rate study.
Right.
You take a bunch of bite mark examiners, give them samples of bite marks, and measure how often they make a correct identification. To this day, nobody has ever conducted a proper error rate study for bite mark analysis.
And there's really no incentive to do any research because courts admit it. If courts stopped admitting it, they would do the research, right? Because they want it to be introduced at trial.
But the defense attorneys have all the incentive to do it.
Yes.
Studies that have been done with human cadavers show that there's a lot of distortion when bite marks are made in skin, even in a laboratory setting. The same set of teeth will make marks of different sizes and shapes depending on the skin type, the amount of force, and the orientation of the bite. Yes. Missing teeth can look like they're there. Teeth that are there can look like they're missing. One study conducted by forensic dentists found an unsatisfactory level of agreement among examiners on whether a given injury was even a human bite mark.
I mean, what are we doing?
But during Stinson's trial, Dr. Johnson told the jury that there was no margin for error in this case.
Right. No margin for error.
And then Stinson took the stand. He said he was at a party until about 12:30, went home, and then later went back out to go to the store with a friend.
He took the stand. That's an innocent man. Yeah.
He said as they walked behind his house, he heard footsteps and shushing coming from the back of the alley. But when Stinson first spoke to the police 3 days after the murder, he had only told them that he went home after the party and went to bed. As the prosecutor pointed out at the trial, he had changed his story.
Which is why you don't talk to them at all. Period. Should not talk to them at all. You will hear my defense in a court of law. Yes.
It's my experience that the jury looks a lot at those alibis, and if somebody's lying for no other reason than perhaps trying to get out of something, that is pretty heavy evidence.
After a 3-day trial and less than 2 hours of deliberation,
2 hours.
The jury found Stinson guilty of first-degree murder, and he was sentenced to life in prison.
Oh, that's Wisconsin. Innocent man.
On appeal, Stinson challenged the admissibility of the expert testimony in his trial, but the Wisconsin Court of Appeals affirmed his conviction.
Oh my God.
They were impressed by the dentist's elaborate methods.
Dr. Johnson used an acrylic ring, special three-dimensional indentation technique, 75 individual tooth marks.
They actually claimed the reliability
He didn't do any of that shit.
No.
of the bite mark evidence in this case was sufficient to exclude to a moral certainty every reasonable hypothesis of innocence.
It's so absurd.
A moral certainty. This guy is well, I don't want to call him a devil, but wow. Moral certainty. He's slick with that tongue.
Have a very complex, ancient methodology. It doesn't mean that they can tell your fortune.
And with that ruling, Stinson became the precedent-setting case for bite mark evidence in Wisconsin. 7 years later, the U.S. Supreme Court issued a decision, the Daubert ruling, which should have changed the entire landscape for forensic science. It said that trial judges must assess whether expert testimony is based on reasoning or methodology that is scientifically valid.
Daubert talks about...
That's what I'm saying. That's the judge's job, man.
Yeah.
Let people come in the courtroom and railroad people. Right.
I mean, really.
Reliability.
To really look into it. Really, you know,
that's their
see
job.
Yeah.
But they work for the state and they're paid by the state. And they want re-election.
It's conflict of interest all the way around.
Validity, empirical data, error rates, peer review, has all the good stuff. And scientists would look at it and feel their hearts would patter. They'd be cheered.
He passing.
Because it says all the right words. But the problem is, it also says it's a flexible standard.
The Daubert ruling gave judges a new gatekeeping role, but at the same time, it said that vigorous cross-examination and presentation of contrary evidence are still an appropriate means of attacking shaky but admissible evidence. So even though judges are supposed to evaluate expert testimony, they can still choose to offload that responsibility.
They don't want to be responsible for letting the killer go free because they excluded the evidence.
But they want to be responsible for letting an innocent man go to jail?
They don't mind that.
Overall, the system has always relied on the attorneys to cross-examine witnesses they disagree with and present contrary evidence.
Public defenders are by and large overwhelmed and often don't have the funding to hire their own independent experts, but they shouldn't have to. We shouldn't have to be defending against unreliable scientific evidence.
And ultimately, it's up to the jury to decide what they believe.
The instructions are very clear that the jury does not have to give any further weight to an expert than any other witness. What kind of weight they want to give to them is totally up to them.
But the jury doesn't have basic information about the error rates of forensic methods like bite mark analysis.
Guy's an expert. They're trusting that this guy's an expert or a woman,
Yeah.
Not that they're expert at junk.
Yeah.
Those studies don't exist, in part because judges have never required them.
I don't think there's evil intent anywhere in this circle.
I do.
It's a collection of institutional participants, sometimes taking the easy way out.
Nothing is suitable in our existing system for making the scientific determination that this evidence is questionable, and here's what juries and judges ought to know about it. It's not happening.
Right.
As Robert Lee Stinson began his life sentence, the evidence in the case was boxed up and locked away. That included the blue pullover shirt the victim was wearing when she was killed. It was a crucial piece of evidence, but nobody knew that yet. And it would be 24 years before the true killer was found.
Wow.
24 years.
Wow. What do? You just say you're sorry about that?
That's unconscionable, man.
And your neighbor self. He's probably helping that lady. Hello, good morning. You know what I'm saying, bro?
Yeah.
On top of that, they try.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Man, bro. Because he changed his story. Maybe he misremembered. Wow. Wow.
24 years. That's
in Wisconsin, bro. What do you think? What are going to be the long-term effects? What long-term effects might come from addressing junk science in our so-called legal system? Is this dystopian in your eyes, or is this utopian?
If they do the right thing, then they will check those cases and release those people.
You're going to come up with more junk science. So if that DNA was never tested, he'd still be in jail?
Yeah. And he's probably in jail long, after that happened. He probably didn't get out right away.
Yeah, once they test that, you saying once you tested and got those results and got it to the people, they should have walked right in there without all that processing. We got to process you. And just open that gate up and let them right out, shouldn't they?
Yeah.
But that's not the way it happens. No, you got to be debriefed.
All kinds of crap.
I wonder how much money he got. Not enough, whatever it was.
No, not enough. 24 years?
He was in the prime too, bro.
How old was he when he went in?
17, bro.
Oh my God. So that was life sentence right there, you know.
Yeah.
24 years. At 17 years, it was
legal age of consent is probably 17, 18 in Wisconsin. My thing is in every state, if you're under the legal age of consent, you could be tried as an adult. You know what I mean? It's a big hypocrisy there. We got to fix that. You know what I mean? Either young people can consent, or their minds aren't developed enough where they shouldn't be tried as adults.
Yeah.
It's in favor of the state and not in favor of the people.
Facts.
All right. How junk science shapes criminal injustice. We're going to get to these conclusions. What should so-called non-whites do to protect themselves from junk evidence?
Question the evidence and then question the science. And you got to have somebody that's going to do it. And you need to get an expert to do it if you were in trial.
And at minimum, I don't know, and the judge probably wouldn't say it was admissible, but I'd put together some clips of these other experts and Johnny Cochran, the way he was talking about it in the OJ case. And they were like, but they got all this science. The media, he was like, oh, that's all BS. Basically, that's what he was saying. I'd clip together enough of that. And I'd be like, if you're going to allow this evidence, I wanted to be known of how much of this evidence has been proven to be wacky junk science in the past, and then I don't even know how this modern science may later be determined to be junk science in the future. I should be able to at least address that to the jury so I can find some other thinkers.
Yeah, I'm sure you're not going to be able to show the clips though. But
no, of those cases,
they can quote the cases.
But they won't let you show it. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they can show a video of somebody getting killed and sway the jury.
Yeah.
They're swaying the jury, bro. All right. What criminal I think you said that right. And that's it. You just have to, like Self said, you have to question the evidence and make yourself aware and be able to bring this up to whoever's representing you. And if they're not willing to go forward, get somebody else to represent you. But it's just tough. It's all geared towards not just copper colored, but poor people.
Yes.
Ideally, they'd like to fill the prisons up, the private prisons, with as many poor people as possible. That way you're not paying for welfare and such. And you got them in jail and they're getting money.
Instead of paying them welfare, you're paying for them to be there.
Mm-hmm. Rotting, pretty much. All right. What criminal and or civil penalties? This is a very serious question before we get to the poll question. If Donald Trump called you right now and he said, I need an executive order. Brother Wordsmith, I need an executive order. And they sent me your name. And whatever you decide, I'm going to sign the executive order in the morning.
It's going to be really good. And
yeah,
he's a really good guy.
Yeah. He's smart.
Wordsmith, he's smart. He's really smart.
He's a smart guy. He likes me. All right. What criminal and or civil penalties should evidence manipulation demand for perpetrators? I'm talking about the prosecutor, if they're aware, the PD, law enforcement, and these junk scientists. What penalty should they face?
Same penalty that they, when they did the perpetration, the person got.
That the criminal was facing?
Yes. So whatever the criminal got because of their collusion, they should all get that.
I agree. If you find out during the trial that they're up there doing monkey science or something like that, then whatever they're facing, they should face that. And if it's a person like this, after the fact, they come to find out that you were just doing junk science, and he did 24 years, guess what? You get 24 years
24.
minimum.
Yeah.
Minimum.
Yeah. Fair.
I agree. I agree.
85% of your time out there.
Scales of justice, huh?
Yeah.
Balance. Same thing. A person accuses another person of falsely of any crime.
Yeah.
Any crime. Hey, listen here. If we find that you're making this up, you're going to be facing the same amount of time that they would have gotten for this crime you're accusing them of. Not if it's a hung trial, or if it's something we can't prove. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying don't, go to the police and report stuff that happened. I'm saying don't go there lying.
Right.
Right. We find out that you were lying, like that one girl.
And child support thing.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Same thing. Same thing. Yeah. What was that rapper? It's a rapper that just got killed. He was like 30. He ran from 12, jumped over the fence, and man, cut himself on the fence, bro. And cut his jugular and his thigh and bled out. But it was because a female, one of her baby daddies or boyfriends, was over hanging out at the young man's family's house. They all over there. She swatted them, called 12 and said they was sex trafficking and had girls in there against their will, and they were shooting and everything. And that's what led to the whole thing. People like that, bro, shouldn't be no slap in the hand, bro.
Yeah.
We should go hard on that.
Karen's calling me. He threatened me.
Yes.
After the whole thing's on tape.
Yes. It shouldn't just be, oh, I'm sorry. And, no.
No. Enough is enough.
Yep. You're going to put you on trial in front of your peers. You're going to have to pay for a lawyer, and you're going to be facing those charges, and they're going to have to decide, all right, is she guilty? The law says if she's guilty of it, you know what I mean? You have to decide this way and let the judge levy out the punishment. Because people ain't taking that seriously enough, man.
Not at all.
All right. Let's jump up to the poll question there, fella, and then wrap it on up. Poll question. All right. Your channel. Host. All right there, fella. Do you trust the government-funded scientists? Oh, I never dropped the link in the chat, so let's do that. All right, I'm dropping the link in the chat for anybody who wants to vote on the poll. Give that a chance to marinate. But we can give our response while we wait. All right, fella. Do you trust the government-funded scientists ferried out in U.S. criminal courts after this presentation? Let's see. Right now, no, it's poppycock. 100% of the respondents say they do not trust government-funded scientists ferried out in the U.S. criminal courts. 0% obviously say yes, the government doesn't lie in court. 0% said mostly. Nobody is perfect. And I haven't been having the bum rubbers lately.
Yeah,
I think they don't vote.
Yeah, because rubbing the bum on the fence is no one wants to do that.
Yeah, they probably just wouldn't vote, huh? If they wanted to rub their bum on the fence, they just wouldn't vote. All right, and which one? Well, I guess you know what you went, and I know what you went. It's poppycock.
Yeah, it's poppycock out there.
Yeah. Man, so I was saying this years ago in college, though, man, I'm like, I don't trust none of it. You know what I mean? Just looking at the history of what's been done to us, bro. I was like, I don't trust none of them. There were no copper-colored scientists in there. You know what I'm saying? It was these old guys, like you kept saying, look at him. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Man, that dude, boy. That photo looked like hate personified.
He might have been a good old boy, Triple K. They, they knew who to call. Yeah. Moral. That man used the word moral too. That's what they do.
Yeah.
Talk to you about integrity and morals. You want to be a good guy. And you don't want your family. Yeah, exactly. You don't want your family to think you're a savage, do you? You know what I mean? You can't go in front of that drop dead gorgeous court to judge, had them think before they sent you, you know what I mean, that you're just a savage. Tell us what you did.
Yeah, go. Just tell us. That's all you need to do. Yeah. Everything will be all right. You'll be able to go home.
Yeah. And who else? And who
lies like that.
Did anybody help you? Once they get all that out, don't they? That's not even enough for them devils. Did anybody help you? Did your brother help you? You know, it's stuff a normal person to do. You know, did your spouse help you? Did anybody?
We can leave them out of it, but
Yeah,
you
we
just
can
need
leave.
to tell me.
Get it all off. Yeah, yes.
Keep them up for 7 days and with this type of pressure.
Get him
lights
another.
on.
Get him a black and mild.
It'll be like, man, if I tell you whatever the hell you want to hear, so I can lay down. I can go home after I tell you this.
That's torture.
Yeah, it's torture.
18 hours questioning a person, your brain's splitting, you don't know what's going on. Get him another black and mild, and you want another Coca-Cola? They be getting you all type of vending machine nonsense. You know, sometimes they go out and get you something hot if you're talking real good. You know what I mean? I tell you, if you're gonna snitch, at least be like Butters. Butters, that's me. Oh, 6 tray. They said Butters asked for Italian beef, Coke. You know what I mean? Yeah, tell them I want some hair. I want a Giordano's. You know what I mean? I send those cops around. I eat that whole thing self. Then I'd be like, you know what? I changed my mind. I'm not telling y'all nothing.
The pizza wasn't good either.
Wasn't good either. now I get hungry again after 18 more hours. Yeah, I'm ready to talk. Go get me some Harold's chicken first in the black and mild. All right. The views expressed in today's podcast are those of the host and guests and are not necessarily reflective of TATN or any of its affiliates. Okay. All right. Thank y'all for joining us on today's deep dive into the murky realm of junk science and its far-reaching impact on criminal injustice. And we know who proliferates our present penal system, us. We've explored how unvalidated forensic methods and misleading expert testimony can tip the scales of justice, leading to tragic consequences in our legal system. As we step back, traveling, and reflect on these revelations, let this discussion be a call to arms, a reminder to demand rigorous standards, transparency, and accountability when the system's meant to protect your rights. Screw you. Okay. Stay curious, stay vigilant, and let's keep these types of conversations going. Stay curious, stay informed, be aware, stay engaged, and most importantly, stay true to self. Also, love yourself and everyone around you deeply. Remember, ask not what our culture can do for you, but what you can do for our culture. Silence is violence. Continue questioning everything and everyone. The Self Love Show ain't Kansas, Toto. Peer down the rabbit holes and do your own research, but use caution and discernment, because sometimes when you stare into the abyss, well, the abyss stares right back at you. Peace, self-love, honor, gratitude, and respect. All right, fella, I expect to have K Boom in the building next week.
All right.
Going to reach out to him. We got somebody lined up already for the 29th too. We'll unpack that later.
5,000.
Yeah, we got a copper colored Hollywood coming in the building. So yeah, we got some uncut content coming for y'all.
Be great.
You know what I mean? Eye opener, you know? You know what I'm saying? And then Mouthpiece Included, check us out on Sundays. That's where we're gonna unpack Spally tricks and the world of sports. All right. Denver's coach Mike Malone just got fired, so I'm pretty sure we're gonna be unpacking that. Don't know if the Bulls should get him. You know, are we staying with Donovan? Are we gonna bring up Alonzo Ball, the coach under Donovan, and then have him be our J kid of the future? You know, maybe he can be his successor.
Denver's coach got fired?
Yeah. Mike Malone. Wow. They fired him today, bro. 3 days before the end of the season. And the GM.
Wow.
Yeah. Mike Malone.
Is Jokic hurt or something?
No. Jokic's been balling. They're like the 4th seed, but with the 3 games left, they can still end up with the play-in. So it's a log jam. Yeah. They got rid of the
coach. I saw something. It was 60, 10, and 10.
Dude is hurt. Yeah. The guard, Murray, what's his name?
Yeah, Murray.
Yeah. He's always hurt, bro.
Yep.
It's always his legs too, bro. If that dude was more healthy, man, he would be more of a household name. He'd be balling.
Man, at times, but then when he coming back from injury, he don't be balling.
I say this: he's a Laker killer, that's for sure.
He's shown up huge when they won. That motherfucker, goddamn.
Yeah. He be balling against the Lakers. I don't know, maybe it's something with him and LeBron, but let me see here. Y'all support Ancestral Echoes. My bad.
Midwest Festivals presents Ancestral Echoes, and we still on the early bird special. You better get on it.
Get on it. And you got to be there, you know?
It's the only way you can know about it, because, I mean, words can't express where it goes. We got to line them up to come back, too.
Thanks. 1,000,000%. All right. That brings me to my personal favorite part of the whole shebang, and that's Wordsmith's final words out there. Hey, Tez, if you out there, I'm gonna holler at you shortly.
Yes, y'all. Some things change and some things stay the same. And a lot of things they do are very profane. The institutions causing contusions based off illusions. It's crazy. Junk science never ceased to amaze me. Plays its part on the TV and movie screen that have predictably programmed us to believe the things that it presents and what it represents. But in an instant, it gets debunked when truth is involved. It's revealed. Lies and problems have been solved. What we need to do is stop the madness. There's no justice in this justice system. It's just madness. So we need to change to a different form and make it better, where the truth gets told and the lies get shattered. If the prosecutor knows they're innocent, then there should be no case. There's so many things that we have to face. And it's an uphill battle for the so-called American Indian. And they just want to be pretending that we don't exist. But I insist that we do. And we got to get rid of this junk science, this maniacal. Who knows how many people in the prison system have failed to it?
And how many criminals run free?
Because of somebody that decided the truth ain't impotent. They decided that you're guilty and they have the means to lock you up, build a case, and construct your incarceration forever without no hesitation. And no, it ain't true. Tell you what, I don't know what to do. But it's got to come to an end. And only way it happens if we do not pretend that it's okay and make it stop. Words.
Words. Man. Know thyself, y'all.
Time is now, my people. We must man know thyself. I will eat the right foods that I grow myself. Cause the wrong way stole my health. I'm glad to be me now and nobody else. Man, know thyself. I will eat the right foods that I grow myself. Cause the wrong way stole my health. I'm glad to be me now and nobody else. Yo,
Bullets.
in the code, all the scriptures, potions and elixirs.
Come on, Karen. Bullets, a boomerang.
Stand your ground.
Murder is suicide.
Yeah, well, an eye for an eye.
Silence is violence.
See something, say something.
You want to be a slave? Vibrate greed. Ego. Fear. That's how they make you a slave. You end up in prison.
Okay. I know for sure, charity plus humility times love is freedom.
That's how you get out. Do not answer questions.
Question everything.
We've got two who can see.
Fear is cap. It's an illusion.
Yeah. Vibrate love.
See if you can hear it. You never die when you breathe in the Holy Spirit. Swine ain't divine, the people they won't go near it. Salad bar, spit it, not your average hard here to bring you back to God. Said it just like Master Far sent you. The end ain't always happy.
And forgiveness is love's supreme vibration.
So, do something charitable for a so-called enemy and end a beef.
Healthy people, heal thy people. That's a commandment.
Yeah, because hurt people, for sure, gonna try to hurt people.
Free Larry Hoover, man, like Big Meech.
Free Jeff Floyd.
Free all the guys, man.
Prison to slavery.
Check that 13th Amendment if you don't believe them. And be Yah. Walk on water.
Man. Move mountains.
Oh, Mountain Dew.
Yes, sir. Week by week, that mountain is getting weak. It's moving. Look at it.
I'm gonna let you in on a little secret. Being the one is just like being in love. No one can tell you you're in love, you just know it. Through and through. Balls to bones.
Still got them, bro.
Got mine.
Same, man. Stop snitching on y'allself. Take school serious.
Be sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, because subscribing makes you feel